Hey, I just wanted to do a quick follow-up on make a correction or fix an oversight on that lengthy video I did on hinges. One thing that a friend pointed out who followed along with the video and tried to create the hinge is that when he printed it, it fused on his printer, and I couldn't really understand why, but then I remembered something that I had forgotten to comment on in the video because I spaced it out. The way I create the extrusions here does not actually maintain the full clearance that we had set up. So the 0.5 millimeter gap that we created at the top here does actually not carry through because of the way this extrusion works. So if we go in and zoom in here and inspect it, you can see that even though we start with a 0.5 millimeter gap between the opening at the top, when we look at what the space is on our 45-degree angles with the extrusion and the cut. So let me show you. I'll just open a new design here and do a quick sketch and demonstrate. I've prepared a simple sketch here just to show how this works and what's happening with my original design. And I increased the size to make it easier to see what's going on. So let me go in and edit the sketch. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. So I mocked up just a 60 millimeter circle, like, you know, if you remember from the other model, this is how we would extrude from this inner profile here to create both the pin and the cutout for the hole where the pin would insert. And both of those were cut at a 45-degree angle. So if we look at a side profile of what that would look like, I'm going to turn on the line tool here and I'm going to draw the cutout portion. I'm just going to draw lines here, and I'm going to make these two equal. And then I'm going to set the angle to 45 degrees. Oops. Did something wrong there. There we go, 45 degrees. And now you can see how it created, so we have our 10 millimeter clearance on everything here. So I've got a 10 millimeter gap created here, and I've got a 10 millimeter inset on that face that matches the circle up here. So now to create the pin, the extrusion essentially took this inner circle, which would be from here to here from a side profile, and extruded it out similar to how we made the cut. So again, I'll constrain these by making these equal and dimension this angle. Actually, I'll do it down here this time. Keep it a little cleaner looking. So we're going to make that 45 degrees. And so if you notice, you can kind of see it here visually because it's exaggerated enough, but the distance between these 2 points, I can actually turn on the inspect tool, and we can see that that's 10 millimeters, but if we look at the distance between these two parallel lines here, it's 7.071. So by doing it through this method, that's what's going on. And the reason for it that it creates the issue and doesn't maintain the 10 millimeter gap all the way is that these two lines are horizontal with each other. And if they weren't horizontal, then we could shift it a little bit. And just to show you, I've got another demonstration I'll get into in a second here to show you an alternate way to create the profiles here so it maintains that 10 millimeter gap. But if you think about what's going on here, like if I change, and actually I'm going to do I wanted to make this the same as this no matter what. Okay. So now if I change this dimension to say 30 degrees, watch what happens. The gap gets even smaller the sharper this angle becomes. So if we inspect this one, now we're down to roughly 5 millimeters, or exactly 5 millimeters. If we take it down, you know, to 10 degrees, it really stretches it out, but you can see how narrow that gap's getting. So if you were to create something that's supposed to rotate in 3D print, I mean, you'd never have success here. So the trick is to actually not use this method to create your hinge. There's a better way. So let me stop this and switch over and show you. So now that you know that, here's a workaround you can do to quickly fix the model that I demoed in my previous video. I am going to hide Which one is it? No, I'm going to hide hinge right here so we can see in here a little better. So a quick way to fix this is just to offset these faces another 1.5 millimeters roughly, because the gap is 3.5. So if we do a Q, which is a press pull on the keyboard, and select that, it'll do an offset face. The other way to get in here is to modify offset face. And I'm going to start with this, and I'm just going to push this in until it comes to more of a point. I'll do that a negative 0.5, say. And then I'm going to offset this face negative 1 point. I'll do 1.5. Oops, positive 1.5. Let me cancel that. Oh, sorry, negative negative 0.15, not 1.5. There we go. Okay. So now if we turn our body back on here and we inspect this, you'll see this face to this face is now 0.504. So we can get our 0.5 millimeter quickly that way. And I'm going to take another few minutes, if you can indulge me here. I'm going to put in a plug unsolicited for a class, an online class I've been taking with Vladimir Mariano, the instructor who also runs the Desktop Makes YouTube channel. And he's got a great set of online self-paced courses you can sign up for, which I've done several of. And then he started a little over a year ago, well, actually about 1.5 years ago now, some live classes once a week that I've been participating in, and I've really learned a ton. It's been really fun. And so we've been taking lately a deeper dive into hinges, and I had shown this method that I came up with for creating this hinge, where I created kind of the whole profile for both sides and then just did the various extrusions. And in class, when he was demoing it, he showed us a method that I'm going to just kind of show the intro to here, because he's already done a video demonstrating the technique that he used to create a similar style hinge. And the way he approached it was start a new sketch on the XY plane. If we draw a rectangle, and I'll just give it some dimensions here. So let's say this is, we'll make this 60, and we'll make this, let's say 3 millimeters. And then he came in here and drew a sketch. And let me zoom in quite a bit here. So we do a line similar to what we just showed. Let me get up here. So we do our little line, we do our angle and our line over here, and put some dimensions in here. Give that a 0.5. This is a 0.5. And we'll set our angle of 45 degrees. And then we're going to do an offset, and we're going to do this at 0.5. And this is similar to what I just showed you to create it. And then the other thing he did, let's see, we're going to do a line and hold shift down to find the midpoint. Right there, we're going to draw a construction line at the midpoint so we can mirror this. So since I did 60 here, I'm going to make this about a third. So we'll make that 20. And now we're fully constrained, and then we're going to mirror, create mirror, our offset that we sketched, and then our mirror line is here, and say OK. And so what this did, what he did to create the hinge is did a finish the sketch, and then we did a revolve, create revolve, and select the 3 profiles. So we have kind of the 2 parts that'll make up the outside of the hinge and then the center. And then the axis is going to be this line here, the inner line. And then we say new body, we say OK, and what we end up actually is 3 separate bodies here. And I'm not going to get into the full detail of finishing out the joint here, but you can see how it, hide the sketches, you can see how it created the same pin shape that we were looking for, convex and concave. But if we check our distances here with the inspect tool, we see we have our 0.5 millimeter gap here, and we also have it from this surface on the 45 degree angles we've maintained our 0.5 millimeter all the way around. So while both methods work, his is actually a little bit better and easier to maintain the 0.5 millimeter clearance in there, and that's not entirely obvious when you're using the technique that I demoed in my other video. So I hope this helps. I'm going to leave a link to Vladimir's website for desktop makes where you can explore some options there. You know, if you are so inclined and want to learn more, he's a great teacher, and I'd love to meet you, have you sign up for the live classes, and we can geek out together. So I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you in the next one.